The second you turn and walk back inside, something changes in your yard. Not after a few minutes, not once they are sure you are gone. The second your back is turned, before you have even reached the door, the dynamic at that feeder shifts in ways that most people will never see. Because by definition, the moment you are there to watch, it has already stopped. What happens in the 30 seconds after you walk away from your feeder is one of the most revealing windows into how your birds actually work. Who is really in charge out there? Who has been waiting? Who has been watching not the feeder, but you? And what the hierarchy looks like when the one variable that changes everything, your presence, is removed. Most people picture their feeder as a peaceful place. A gentle rotation of birds taking turns, moving through unhurriedly, sharing the space. That picture is accurate when you are standing there. It is almost completely wrong the moment you leave. Because your birds are not just eating at your feeder. They are managing it, negotiating it, watching each other and watching you. And the instant you are no longer part of the equation, a set of rules you never knew existed snaps into place with a precision that would stop you mid-step if you could see it. Today, we are going to walk through exactly what happens, second by second, minute by minute, in the time after you walk away. You will learn who takes over the feeder the moment you leave, what the research from Cornell and the Max Planck Institute reveals about dominance hierarchies at supplementary feeding sites, why certain birds were never eating when you were there, only waiting, what your absence triggers in the birds who know you best, and the thing that almost nobody realizes, that your presence at the feeder was changing the behavior of every bird in your yard in ways that had nothing to do with food. Stay until the very end, because the last thing we cover is what some of your birds do when you have been gone long enough, and it is the detail that changes how you will feel every time you stand at that window and watch them. Welcome back to Bird Brain Lab. In the first 10 seconds after you walk away, the bird that moves first is not the hungriest one. It is the most dominant one that had been holding back. This is the detail that surprises people most when they first learn it. The birds you see at your feeder when you are standing nearby are not necessarily the birds who run the feeder. They are the birds comfortable enough with human presence to feed in spite of it. And that is a specific personality type, not a rank. The dominant birds at most backyard feeders, the individuals who control access, who displace others, who set the feeding schedule for the entire yard, are often not the ones you see most. They are the ones who wait, who sit in the branches above the feeder or in the shrubs at the edge of the yard and monitor and choose their moment. And their moment is very often the moment you leave. Research from the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology, studying dominance at supplementary feeding sites, found that the presence of a familiar human near a feeding station consistently suppressed the expression of dominance hierarchies among birds. The dominant individuals did not disappear. They shifted position. They waited at a slightly greater distance, and within seconds of the human moving away, dominance behavior resumed at full intensity. What this means for your yard is striking. The chickadee you watch eating calmly from your feeder every morning may... Within 30 seconds of your departure, the feeder looks completely different. Not chaotic, more ordered than when you were there, but ordered by a set of rules that has nothing to do with the gentle rotation you were watching. The dominant bird takes primary position. Birds of lower rank move to the edges of the platform, or wait on nearby branches, or feed in short bursts between displacements. In chickadee flocks, which are among the most studied of all backyard species, this hierarchy is rigid and well documented. Every individual in a flock knows its exact rank relative to every other individual. There is no ambiguity. There is no negotiation. When the dominant bird arrives at the feeder, the bird below it moves. When the third-ranked bird approaches, the fourth-ranked gives way. The order holds with a consistency that researchers describe as remarkably stable across seasons and years. What is extraordinary is how quickly this order reestablishes itself after any disruption. Your departure is a disruption. a minor one. The birds are not alarmed, they are simply released. And the release happens fast. Studies tracking individual marked birds at feeders have shown that full hierarchy expression can resume within 15 to 20 seconds of a human moving away from a feeding station. 15 seconds. The time it takes you to walk from the feeder to your back door. In that window, a completely different social reality has replaced the one you were watching.
Here is the part that changes how you will look at your yard. When you are standing near your feeder, some of the birds in your yard are not thinking about the food at all. They are thinking about you. Specifically, they are tracking your position, your movement, and the probability that your behavior is about to change in a way that affects their safety or their access. Corvids, jays, crows, do this most visibly. A blue jay that arrives in your yard while you are standing outside will almost never go directly to the feeder. It will land in a tree at the perimeter. It will watch you. It will call once or twice. Not an alarm call, a monitoring call. A sound researchers have begun to describe as positional checking. And it will wait until your behavior has been consistent long enough that its risk model says the coast is clear. But smaller birds do this too. In long-term observation studies of marked chickadee flocks, researchers found that certain individuals, typically mid to low-ranked birds, spent significantly more time in vigilance postures, upright, head raised, scanning, when an unfamiliar or unpredictable human was nearby. Their feeding time dropped, not because the food was inaccessible, but because the cognitive load of monitoring the human left less bandwidth for eating. These birds were at the feeder in body, but they were not really there yet. The moment you walk away, that cognitive load lifts. The vigilance posture drops. The head comes down. And birds that were technically present at your feeder for 10 minutes while you were there may eat more in the 90 seconds after you leave than they did in the entire time you were watching. The acoustic landscape of your feeder changes completely when you are not there. When you are present, the birds near your feeder produce a specific mix of sounds. Contact calls, the soft chips and chirrs that mean, I am here, carry on, and a measurable frequency of alert notes, short, high-pitched sounds that signal elevated attention without triggering full alarm. These alert notes increase in frequency around humans, even familiar ones, even humans the birds have classified as safe. It is not fear, it is monitoring. The background hum of a nervous system that is never fully off. When you leave, the alert note frequency drops. What replaces it is something researchers have described as relaxed flock chatter, a denser, more varied, more continuous soundscape of contact calls, feeding sounds, and what appear to be status signals between individuals navigating the hierarchy. The feeder gets louder after you leave, not because more birds arrive, though sometimes they do, but because the birds already there stop monitoring the airspace where you were standing and redirect that attention toward each other. There is something worth pausing on in that. The silence you associate with a peaceful feeder, the quiet, orderly scene you watch through your window, is partly the silence of birds that are still tracking you. The real conversation at your feeder, the full, unguarded version, begins when you are no longer part of it. The hierarchy at your feeder is not just within species. It runs between species, too. And the rankings are probably not what you would guess. Most people, if asked to rank their backyard birds by dominance, would put the largest bird at the top. The jay over the cardinal over the chickadee over the nuthatch. The intuition makes sense. Size usually correlates with competitive advantage. At most feeders, this is partially wrong. Studies measuring displacement rates, the frequency with which one species causes another to leave a feeding position, have consistently found that the northern cardinal outranks the blue jay at close-range feeder interactions, despite being significantly smaller. The cardinal's aggression at point-blank range is disproportionate to its size. Cardinals have been documented displacing birds twice their body weight when feeder access is contested. The bird that surprises researchers most consistently is the red-breasted nuthatch. Nuthatches rank above almost every bird their size and several larger species. Their combination of speed, directional flexibility, they can move in any direction on any surface, And aggressive billing behavior at feeders makes them effective competitors against birds that should theoretically dominate them. The chickadee, the bird you are most likely to associate with gentleness and charm, is the enforcer within its own flock. Dominant chickadees displace subordinates with an efficiency that researchers describe as nearly instantaneous. The subordinate does not wait to be struck. It reads the dominant's approach angle and leaves before contact. All of this is happening at your feeder every day. The second you walk away and the hierarchy fully expresses itself, your yard is running a social system of extraordinary complexity that has been operating beneath the surface of everything you thought you were watching.
Not all birds respond to your departure the same way. The birds who have built the longest, most consistent relationship with you, the ones who have been coming to your specific feeder for months or years, show a pattern of behavior after your departure that is measurably different from the birds who are newer to your yard. The newer birds move immediately when you leave, directly to the feeder, directly to the resource. Your departure was the only thing between them and the food, and now the obstacle is gone. The older residents, the chickadees who have watched you from the same branch for 2 winters, the cardinal who has been coming to the same platform since last spring, do something different. They do not always move immediately. Some of them continue to orient toward the door you walked through. Some of them perch at the intermediate point between where you were standing and where you went. Some of them, for a period of 30 seconds to a minute, do not feed at all. Behavioral ecologists studying long-term human-bird relationships at feeding stations have noted this pattern without fully explaining it. The most cautious interpretation is that these birds have built such a precise model of your routine that your departure registers as a change in expected pattern, and they pause to update the model before returning to feeding behavior. The less cautious interpretation, the one that is harder to publish but impossible to ignore if you have watched it happen, is that the birds who know you best notice when you leave in a way that the birds who don't know you simply do not. They are not distressed. They are not waiting for you to come back in any urgent way, but something in the moment of your departure registers for them differently than it does for the bird that was only ever waiting for the obstacle to clear. I want to tell you something that is easy to miss if you are only thinking about birds as animals that eat. Every time you walk away from that feeder, you leave behind a space that your presence was shaping in ways you could not see. The hierarchy that was suppressed reasserts itself. The vigilance that was elevated relaxes. The birds that were waiting begin to move. The conversation that was muted resumes. Your yard has a version of itself that only exists when you are not in it. And that version is not better or worse than the one you watch from the window. It is simply the full version, the unedited one, the one where every social rule and every remembered rank and every individual personality expresses itself without the moderating presence of the large, familiar creature who fills the feeder. But here is what I want you to hold on to. The birds who know you, the ones who have been in your yard long enough to have a real file on you, they do not simply return to that unedited version the second you leave. They carry something of your presence into the space after your departure. Not dramatically, not in a way that would show up easily in data, but in that pause some of them take, in the brief reorientation toward the door, in the slightly different quality of attention they give to the space where you were standing. You changed that yard by being in it, not just while you were there. The change. I want to ask you something before you go. Have you ever walked away from your feeder and then looked back through the window, over your shoulder, and caught something happening that felt like it had been waiting for you to leave? A bird that moved the second your back was turned, a sudden rush to the feeder, a jay that had been watching from the tree and finally came down. Tell me in the comments what you saw and which species it was, because the stories this community shares are some of the most careful, most observant descriptions of bird behavior I have ever read anywhere, and I read every single one. If someone you know fills a feeder every morning without knowing any of this is happening just behind them, share this with them. because sometimes knowing the full picture makes a simple thing feel like something remarkable. I will see you in the next one.